fired up today. The weight of the socialist takeover of America is just weighing heavy on me in many ways. I live in the state of Connecticut where you buy a car and you pay sales tax on it, and then every year they tax your car. And if you don't pay the tax, they'll boot your car. And if you continue not to pay it, they'll actually repossess your car. Much like 80 years ago when property taxes were enacted, soon after the criminal Federal Reserve crime cartel and the terrible IRS, I don't know what to call it, the evil IRS, began pilfering the income derived from labor of the American people of any source, which is completely unconstitutional. But I guess if you pay enough politicians off, you can pass just about anything. So I state this from personal resentment and anger at the IRS for making my life personally hell, and causing a lot of trouble because of this law. And then, if you don't pay, or you owe, or whatever it is, and you're in debt to them, your money went to pay interest on the national debt. It is 100% factual. Grace Commission report, 1984. In fact, I think verbatim it says not one nickel of the taxes collected serve one aspect of what the people expect from government. In other words, the services. Not one service, not one nickel is spent for any service that the people expect from government. Our government has gotten bloated intentionally, wasteful spending intentionally, telling that the people will get better and better. It didn't get better. They increased the drug supply to the American people, putting people on drugs, and then the illegal drug trade, which is run by the CIA, and the Queen of England is actually, this is all true. Please research everything I say. I know what I'm speaking of. I take the position that I can't believe how deceived I was, and that is why I'm so passionate about getting this information out to you. Because you don't look this. The average person that's looking at this and doesn't know what I'm talking about is saying, this can't be true. And I said that for a long time. This can't be true. How can it possibly be true that our entire lives are a lie? That everything that they set up is a lie? And of course, the COINTELPRO, to counteract any people waking up or understanding, to say, oh, they're conspiracy theorists. So they get the people through a CIA slide response, as it's known as, to just think of the word conspiracy theory, and they make movies about it and joke about it, and it's a game, and it's a this and that, and as if it doesn't exist. And it most certainly does exist. Conspiracies exist everywhere. Watergate was a conspiracy. Benghazi is a conspiracy. Okay? The IRS invading the rights of the people and stealing the wealth of the people is criminal, as well as a conspiracy. Because there was a conspiracy to take the wealth of the American people, and it's working. Covert communism in America is alive. And in fact, you can say that we lost World War II. In fact, General Patton wanted to go into Russia. He wanted to get allied the German forces that were captured, the good, basically the Germans that sort of, didn't want to deal with Hitler, the non-Nazi Germans, and this is what was the radical part of it. That, oh my God, they were our enemy, and Nazis, well, no, he had a good point. We might as well fight the Russians now, or we're going to fight them later. And he was right. And I guess he just accidentally had a fatal car accident soon after this idea was given to the other, the Joint Chiefs, or the other, Eisenhower, and because there was And I'll explain how it works. There was a conspiracy, okay, to bring about communism long before World War II. You see, this whole totalitarian effort started with Karl Marx, who wrote for the New York Tribune in his Communist Manifesto. But it wasn't Karl Marx. He's the one that put it pen to page and all of that, and the elite loved him. Well, they propped him. And they like communism because it likens to monopoly, because they can control all the industries and all the resources and everything because it creates monopolies. It's good for the business. And these people are the wealthiest businessmen. So they kill competition, and they continue to do so. And that is why all these jobs went overseas, and all these corporations that we give our money to, our hard-earned American dollars taxed by the criminal IRS, okay, go to pay for the companies that send jobs overseas. Give us the loving, we love their products, American products. But the bulk of the work is done overseas because of the trade imbalances. It's intentional. And no one's done anything. They've been bitching about this for years. The garment industry, which my father was a vice president of the International Ladies Garment Workers Union. And in the 1970s, when I was growing up and I was a young boy, like 10 years old, 9 years old, some 40 years ago. Well, actually, less than that. But that time, they were talking about imports, and oh, you're crazy, imports. Imports are going to destroy the garment business. And what did it do? What did the textile industry happen in the 80s? Norma Ray with the unions taking all the fat of the unions. Now, my father's union screwed him as well. Took his guaranteed benefit that he had, and he was retired 25 years, and they decided to reduce that benefit by like 95%. And they got away with it because they ended up having to settle for half of the benefit, because they just did it for cost cutting, because they're criminals. Bruce Rayner, you are a criminal. Unite? Bruce Rayner, you are a criminal. Now, yeah, in fact, it came out that you were, of course, corrupt, and you ended up, you're no longer in the position. But there was just a lot of corruption going on at Unite when it merged, when the unions merged. Now, these unions now, because of their so-called reduced populations, merge. And in the merges, there's so much filthy, unbelievable corruption and stealing. And they actually tried to sell, they claimed that they didn't have money, Unite, because they had funding problems, but they sold a $60 million office building on 7th Avenue. They had funding problems. Yeah, and they lied, and they got caught with that. And of course, they did. It was also illegal for them to buy this bank. The union bought a bank. They tried to buy the Amalgamated Bank in New York. Big lawsuits ensued. Again, this is all, you can research this. Yeah, union officers sue for life insurance benefits. Former union officers. Yeah, you can Google that. I think it's important. It's part of what I'm talking about. Now, what happened when he coming up from the labor union, he was born in 1916, my father, 3 years after the cartel got their cartel agreement made legal so it could be enforceable. That's how they pulled this off, because they legalized what is in essence counterfeiting and extortion. Certainly, I'm sure those that are aware can see how, as a result of this, they created booms and busts. And as a result of this, we've had the Panic of 1920. Now, again, let's go back to and first of all, it funded World War I. I can't go past the war, which was a war that didn't even have to happen. They just built up all the troops. They decided to put all this money into, the Federal Reserve Crime Syndicate decided to put all this money also into building up defense. And the big lie was that, our soldiers were so ill-equipped in World War I that they were using, when they were in boot camp, they were using broomsticks and fake guns because they didn't have ammunition. It's just again a myth. We built up our army for the entire 4-year period. And we went to war in 1917 through 1918 very well equipped. So understand these things. And then what happened? You had this very strange flu epidemic. And I still don't know how far, again, a bioweapon certainly a possibility. At that time, chemical weapons were used, mustard gas, and other terrible chemical warfare was rampant. Biologicals were done, and there was biological research that was done. So that might have been cooked up in a lab and released into the general population. After all, it went worldwide, so maybe they gave it to in vaccines, which they gave to all of the servicemen in all of the countries. Just a theory. That's a theory. That's a theory. No hard evidence on that. And that's what you get here. I tell you the truth. It's Truth Talk News. And we must understand how important it is to return to a constitutional republic. I see how far I am. Oh, good. It's so very important that we return to a constitutional republic since we've moved so far away from it. Since the founding of our great republic, the wealth and power of the so-called robber barons was created by the free enterprise system of liberty and a laissez-faire aspect, let the business just happen, and government to be there for just the least amount of intrusion, as opposed to now it's flipped on the other side where it's this incredibly huge government that is so into every aspect of your life. It's hard to believe that George Orwell was so right. And then you listen to people and you read books like Bertrand Russell, and you listen to his interviews, Bertrand Russell saying that there'd be like a pharmacological combination, and it's all this stuff that was like so true today. 50 years later, I mean, everybody's on meds. They're on these psychotropic drugs. A vast majority of the population are on some type of psychotropic drugs. I think, to be honest, it is a high percentage. It's somewhere in the neighborhood of 70%. Again, I don't want to give a direct amount because this is just an off-the-cuff rant because I'm angry, as I said when I'm in the beginning of my statement, because they're forcing me to reduce my standard of living again by taking a loss on my house. I'm in a situation where I must sell my home, and as many people know, a lot of people have lost a lot of money in this economy. And this is another example of wealth being stolen. You buy your house, there's a transfer tax. Little piece for the state. But meanwhile, they've been collecting your real estate taxes, high taxes, as long as you've been in that house. Did you own that house? No. Look at your deed. It says tenant. You don't own your house. It doesn't say owner. It says tenant. There's a reason for this.